Greetings, apologies, and an invitation. As you may know, all the talks that I've sent out under the banner of the Eucharist group on Facebook, they've all disappeared. So some of you have asked that I start again, perhaps repeating some of the talks, and I'm glad to do so. And I'll start today, or start off anyway, if I may, with one I've titled Old Sailor's Story. They say old soldiers never die, but simply fade away. Old sailors don't even fade away, for the salt seas keep their memories fresh as kippers. Here's a memory of mine that you may enjoy. Shortly after World War II, when I was in my early 20s, I was executive officer of a minesweeper in the British Royal Navy. The problem with mines is they don't know when the war's over and have bad tempers. So peacetime or no, they explode when they're annoyed. Months after VJ Day, we had to find and disarm them, which was ugly work. And it was very nice when we'd get a break. And the break that we got was really fine, beautiful. The Allies planned a thank you to the troops of D-Day at Southsea near General Eisenhower's headquarters. Thousands would take part. And a hero would light an eternal flame, which a ship would carry across to the Normandy beaches. From there, men of the French resistance would cycle it to Belgium, and Belgian underground fighters would run with it to Holland, where Dutch guerrillas would take it and carry it to Arnhem, where thousands of British paratroops had landed on D-Day, and few, we learned, had survived. In Arnhem, the flame would burn forever as the eternal flame of freedom. The hero, to the Brits anyway, was Field Marshal Montgomery. He'd light the flame, which would remind the world forever why the war was fought and how hard it was won. The ship that would carry it across to Normandy was ours. We were chosen because we were Tiddly, which locally meant smart, jaunty, trim. Our captain was Lieutenant Keith Charles, who brought to his task high school French, which would help when we got to France, and a new uniform. To prepare, the Navy gave us 7 days and a truckload of paint and brass polish and soap. And at the appointed time, Tiddly, from stem to stern, we arrived at Southsea Pier to behold historic goings-on. Most of the remaining Allied armies seemed to be ranked there on the shore, and bands were playing, and flags of all the decent nations waved, and out-of-school children and their parents cheered. Ships tooted, Spitfires swooped, generals made speeches, newsreel cameras got it on a rickety tower, and we secured to the end of Southsea Pier, all agog and at attention. It was superb. And then Monty came to the mic and cleared his throat, The cacophony froze. An enormous paratroop sergeant, escorted by two equally large chums, marched to the Monty, to the place where Monty was holding in his left hand an unlit Olympic-type magnesium torch. And Monty's voice now boomed words of gratitude and memory and meaning of the brave men who early one morning crossed this sea and dared and died. And he acknowledged the privilege that was now his to kindle this eternal flame of freedom. He paused and put a match to the torch, and the sergeant saluted Monty and grabbed the torch and turned and thumped down the pier toward the ship. Torch held high, followed by his two chums and followed by Monty and the generals. Hitherto, I had not personally experienced any forebodings. I'd been all cheered up by all the goings-on. But as the sergeant thumped his way toward the ship, I recalled that the plan required him to march across the gangplank I had put out to the shore. And our gangplank was tiddly, which in this case meant handsome and slim, and not at all fitted for 300 pounds of sergeant pounding along. But anyway, all went well. It bounced the sergeant like a heaving hippo, marching even in midair, and depositing him before Keith, safely, if rather surprised. And now in proper paratroop fashion, he ramrodded the torch forward. Zat! Someone should have mentioned at least to Keith, that a paratroop gesture with a magnesium torch sprays a Niagara of burning bits in the direction the gesture is aimed. Keith caught fire. Hat, both new shoulders, one new knee. Under our feet were 2,000 gallons of high-octane petroleum. We were that daft British invention, a petrol-driven minesweeper. Behind Keith, on the funnel, in fierce red, was no smoking abaft the funnel. Keith was smoking well abaft it, patting himself fiercely with the hand not holding the torch. So several of us quickly joined him in the patting and hustling him down to the wardroom out of sight. I ordered the flame carried well forward by a signalman far from the fuel, but bravely visible to the cheering crowds. And as fast as we could, we cast off and headed out to sea. The bands played, the crowds cheered, but Keith did not reappear. So he was staying below, attending to his burns. And those of us who knew him guessed that he was probably doing some of the healing with gin. So I was in charge. And soon, with England safely astern, I had the flame's incendiary tendencies curbed by having it consigned to a hurricane lamp and hanging the lamp reverently on the mast. Every 2 hours, I'd take it into the wheelhouse, treat the flame to a fresh container of fuel, and bear it back to the mast, carefully. Night fell, and it began to get rough, and then very rough. Small ships, such as minesweepers, bounce fiercely when the weather's like that, and we were used to it. But even so, we could on occasion be tricked. And sadly, this was such an occasion. At 2 a.m., it was time to refuel the lamp, and the sea, fighting mad, made me bear the lamp extra carefully into the wheelhouse, timing the ship's roll and pitch, and I put the lamp on the little table beside the helmsman, who was one of our best sailors, but even he was having difficulties at the wheel, and I started my delicate task. Things went well for some seconds, and then, bang, the bow hit a huge wave. The wheel tossed the helmsman at me, throwing me base over apex, and the flame went wherever flames go when they go out, even eternal ones. I was a pipe smoker in those days, so I whistled a bar or two of Hearts of Oak, retrieved the lamp, took my matches and relit the flame of freedom. I looked at the helmsman, he looked at me, we both nodded. I'm not sure what his nod meant, but mine signaled, "Seal your lips, sailor," and we steered for France. The flame flickering on the mast, and I staring into the darkness, pondering what I'd done. At dawn, Ouistreham hove in sight. This was our destination. It was where the Free French soldiers had landed on D-Day, getting far less publicity than the rest. Keith had decided to stay below. He really was burned. Well, we put the flame back on a fresh torch, and most of us shaped up to march ashore. Our reception was even more splendid than our farewell had been the day before. Besashed ambassadors, bemedaled brass, rank on rank of military, families galore, bands welcoming, I bearing the flame. The mayor of Ouistreham would receive it, but first his speech on behalf of Europe, how proud that I am, a humble Frenchman, now to receive into these very fingers. By chance, I caught the eye of the helmsman of the night before, and quickly I looked away from him. These flame, kindled yesterday by the warrior hero of Europe, Field Marshal, and the bulging eyes of the helmsman cried silently, "Not this one, monsieur. This was lit by 4 bells of the middle watch by Sub-Lieutenant Webb. Mine burning their urgent command, never a word, sailor," and his struggling, replying, I'll try, sir, but it's hard, it's blooming hard." I don't mean to make light of brave men's honoring. Please God, may their place in history far outweigh this idiot's clumsiness. I deeply regret my part in it. It's true that years later, my wife Renee and I made a pilgrimage to Arnhem so I could try to stand where the paratroopers fought and apologize. But we found no flame burning, no place for a flame, not even a memory of a flame. Flames go out. Apparently this one had gone out on its first hour ashore and was obviously impractical. But the people of Arnhem remember in their hearts the sacrifices of those dead soldiers. Kind Dutch people keep their graves beautifully clean. We saw a wedding couple come, and the bride, put her bouquet on a British soldier's grave. And they told us they didn't remember a flame, but they did know that family members came from England often to visit the graves of their British dead. Indeed, they shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. In the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. The true flame of freedom burns wherever it's hallowed. Brave men and women are risking everything now to guard our values. Revere them. Pray for their safety. And we ourselves must keep those beloved values aflame in us. Amen.